This video is brought to you by Recurrent, an essential EV tool that gives free access to TFL EV viewers in the US. With Recurrent, EV shoppers can check range and battery info on used cars. EV owners can connect to compare their range and battery health to similar vehicles. And EV sellers can use Recurrent to get more money for their sales. With Recurrent, we can find, drive, and sell electric cars positively. Click on the link in the description below to get free access to Recurrent's amazing EV tools.
Hey guys, here's a quick quiz for you. What's the quickest Jeep ever? Now, I bet you're thinking to yourself, it must be the Trackhawk because, well, that did 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds. Well, close, but no cigar, because this is the quickest Jeep ever. This is the new Jeep Wagoneer S, and it will do 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. So just a hair quicker. And in this video, I'm going to do a complete walk around, show you everything about this. Then we're going to talk about the inside. We're going to talk about all of the technical details. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how much this first edition Wagoneer S costs because it's hitting dealerships as we speak. So let's start where we always start, and that's at the front. And you'll note that it still has this Jeep 7-slotted grille. But of course, you don't need a 7-slotted grille because under the hood, and let me pop the hood, isn't a Hellcat powertrain or a Hemi or even a Pentastar. Under the hood is a frunk because this Wagoneer S is also Jeep's very first all-electric Jeep in North America. So there is a power charging cable and maybe a little bit of space for a sandwich or some dirty clothes. Now, speaking of powertrains, this is a dual motor setup, and get this, it produces 600 horsepower, giving it a 0 to 60 time, like I said, of 3.4 seconds. It has an EPA range of 303 miles. And instead of the traditional Hemi or Pentastar, there's a 100 kilowatt hour battery that's, good for, like I said, just over 300 miles of range. Now, let's look at the design. This is a mid-size, give or take, crossover. So it competes, obviously, with other electric cars like the new Chevy Blazer, the Tesla Model Y. It's kind of the hot segment in this electric car world, and Jeep has come out swinging with a design that's both aerodynamic, actually one of the most aerodynamic Jeeps ever. I think it's 0.294 coefficient of drag, and perhaps the most interesting feature, besides this little Wagoneer S badge on the side here, is this. So the profile of the Jeep looks longer than it is because this window back here is sloped as a sedan would be, but this spoiler gives it the appearance of a much longer vehicle. Now, I asked Jeep, why isn't there a wiper back here? And they said, well, because it's got the same profile as a sedan's rear window, but I'm sure that's good for rain. I'm not sure that's that good for snow if you live in places like Colorado. Now, if you're wondering how much it tows, just over 3,000 pounds. How far does it tow? Probably around 150 miles if you're towing 3,000 pounds. Now, of course, this is the 4xe. Like I said, it's a dual motor setup, and so it is all electric. And Jeep does not yet have an agreement with Tesla to provide NACS, or North American Charging Standard. Instead, it's got the traditional CCS charger, which can charge up to 200 kilowatts. So given the stats, I think it's something like from 20% to 80% in 25 minutes. 200 kilowatts is, kind of par for the course. This is a more traditional, shall we say, 400 volt architecture. So it's not exactly leading edge like an Ioniq 5 would be, or any of the other Hyundai products, or perhaps a Porsche Taycan. But I think for most people, fast charging for this is adequate. Now, the good news is, even though it doesn't have the NACS, or North American Charging Standard, as part of the setup from the factory, Tesla is installing new superchargers with the magic dock, which allows both NACS and CCS charging. So if you happen to live by one of the new version 3 or version 4 chargers that has the Magic Dock, you'll be able to charge this on a Tesla supercharger. Let me know in the comments what you think of the design. I actually think it's pretty darn sexy. Now, the one little fly in the ointment, at least for me, and I'm, through and through Jeep guy, because we've had Wranglers and Wranglers and Wranglers forever, is the fact that it has just over 6 inches of ground clearance. So I'm hoping that at some point the true DNA of the Jeep brand will come in the Wagoneer S, but this will not necessarily go on any of my favorite trails in Moab, especially with only 6.5 inches of ground clearance. And I'll show you what kind of off-road it has as soon as we do a tour of the inside. So let me drive this and put it into the shade so that we can get a better look at the interior. All right, Ian, hop on in. Ian's my videographer. Thanks, Ian. Come on in and let's show them around this radar red interior. And I have to say, this is a bold choice. Jeep calls it radar red. I might call it blood red, but I like it. I think I'm very bored of black interiors. And even though these seats may look like they are made of leather, they are not. In fact, everything in here is synthetic or recycled. That includes the aluminum that you see on the doors. And I think, that's nice, because if you're not a fan of leather, then Jeep has got the answer for you. You also note that there's actually no chrome on the exterior of this Jeep. So hop on in, Ian, and we'll talk about the interior. First thing you notice, of course, is that, as is the way today, the steering wheel has been reinvented. And you know what they say about reinventing the wheel. It's what's happening today in the auto industry. And so it's squared off at the bottom, it's squared off at the top, but it does have this traditional Wagoneer 2-spoke wheel, which allows you to do things like hold it down here or hold it up here. And Jeep will tell you that the reason they square it off the top is so that you get a better view of the dashboard. And speaking of screens, there's one, there's two, there's your HVAC screen, and then when you push that, the Kamanian, there's the third one for the passenger, which as the driver I can't see. So if Ian's over there watching Gladiator 2, you like Gladiator 2, Ian?
I haven't seen it.
He hasn't seen it yet. If he's over there watching it, it won't distract me, especially when they do that scene with the boats in the Coliseum. That was pretty crazy. All right, so let's talk about the DNA of Jeep, which is obviously an off-road brand. Of course, you also have 2 huge screens here and a sunroof that completely tilts or completely opens like this, letting the sun come in. So you are getting all the bells and whistles, including a heads-up display. But let's talk about the different modes. You have auto, which allows the car to decide, well, should I be, providing traction to all wheels, because you can, to get better fuel economy, I guess, electric economy, disconnect the front motor in certain situations so it doesn't provide as much drag. But you get sand, snow, eco, auto, or sport. But you'll note there's no rock mode, and that's because, like I said, it doesn't have enough ground clearance actually to go into any kind of serious off-roading. So Jeep designed this for your snow car or your winter cabin car or your dirt road cabin car, but certainly not something that you're going to be off-roading to any great extent. In terms of the bells and whistles, look over here, you have cooled seats, and heated seats with 3 different levels of heating. Same thing for the heated steering wheel, which is very nice. And then there's just a plethora of cameras, which show you, of course, a bird's eye view, forward view, back view, side view, upside down view. Cameras have just proliferated, get my words out, the modern car experience. And the only issue I, of course, have with modern cameras is that more cameras, surround cameras, check that out, is that they don't give you a sense of depth. But otherwise, the colors are bold, the screen is very sharp, and that's nice. The other thing that I find very nice is that we have traditional non-haptic buttons on the steering wheel, especially for the driver aids and for, cruise control. And then back here, if you remember, back in the day when Stellantis was still FCA, you had buttons back here that you could play with for volume and for changing the stations. Those are still there. So if you want to spook the kids by jacking up the volume or changing the station magically while you're driving, you can do that. Or, thank God, you could do it a much more traditional way, which is with an on-off volume button, and then over here, a tune scroll button. How cool is that? Now, one of the cool things you can do here is there's a giant cubby here, and you can lift this screen up like that to give access to the cubby and your USB-C and USB ports. And then in a clever feature, you still have access to your HVAC controls, which is nice. So if you want to get one of the screens out of the way, you can. The other thing you can do with the screen is you've got all kinds of massage features for both passenger and driver. And then, let me see here, there you go. There's all your different massage features: waterfall, lower back, extended, rock climb. Look at that, a rock climb massage. Now, the other thing that the seats do, which I love, is that this front bolster extends between your legs, and the side bolsters actually contract or open up, kind of the way that Mercedes has been doing forever. Another feature that I really like is this button right here. That's auto hold. And so you can have creep, or if you don't want creep, you don't have to have creep. You also have 2 levels of regen. And you don't have, check this out, piano black here. How about that, right? Piano black is still around the screens, but here where it tends to collect dust is this kind of really cool textured surface. Over here, Qi wireless charging for your phone, and a nice little cubby. And all in all, it's a very pleasant place to spend time. Jeep says that they worked very hard to make it modern and yet not confusing. I've been in a lot of cars where, if you want to turn on the radio or if you want to change the station, you need a PhD. Here, relatively basic controls. And then you've got kind of this bedazzled power button, which is kind of a nice touch. All in all, I think it's a very pleasant place to be. I also like this detail here. It's kind of almost a chainmail-like surface, which adds nice contrast to the piano black. And will this get dusty? Probably, but at least this part won't get dusty. So let's jump in the back and see how much room there is for your fellow passengers. Now, I've got this seat all the way back, and surprisingly, it's not bad. It's very roomy back here. One of the nice features is obviously armrests with cup holders, but more importantly, check this out. You've got both heated and cooled seats for your rear passengers. You also have vents back here, super nice feature. And like the front vents, they're traditional, so you don't have to go into a screen to actually adjust them. How nice is that? A little power. Okay, I don't want to break this. I'm sure there's a little power thing back here, but you've got 2 USB-C ports. You got a place to store stuff. You don't have the little privacy screens, but you do have 4 grab handles. Once again, a nice little touch. Okay, headroom. Of course, this goes all the way back, so you get plenty of sunlight with this 2-pane sunroof. And then let's jump in the back. So let's pop this open. Of course, it's electric, and it's a surprising amount of room. As you can see, we've got our backpack, we got our luggage back here, and then there's cubbies underneath there, which I can't get at right now, unfortunately. But, for a vehicle that looks very modern, very sleek, very aerodynamic, you'll be surprised by just how much space there is. Now, at the beginning of this video, I said, I will let you know at the end, and we're approaching the end, how much this Jeep goodness costs. Now, this is the first edition. It comes in many colors. You want to show them the silver one over there? That's my man Alex on Autos doing his review of it as well. Howdy, Alex. He memorizes a lot more than I do. So there's a silver one. There's, of course, a black one. Those are the kind of the boring colors, but there's this really nice dark blue. There's also a red color. And it's nice to have a brand that doesn't just do black, silver, and white, even though we do have this white Jeep right here. Now, folks, it ain't cheap. I'm not going to lie. We're starting at $72,000. They'll say $71,995, but at $72,000, and that's with destination. But the good news is that the prices are going to come down, maybe even a number, they haven't announced it yet, that starts with a 5 instead of a 7 when you get to the more affordable versions of the Wagoneer. Now, as you guys know, if you're fans of Jeep, Jeep kind of was heading down this road to make Wagoneer a sub-brand, right, with the Grand Wagoneer and now with the Wagoneer S. But at some point, the powers that be decided that it's probably not a good idea to make Wagoneer its own sub-brand. Instead, you've got this bold Jeep badge right in the front, so it stays in the Jeep family. My biggest criticism of this car right now is that there is no off-roady one, but I have seen, I'm not sure if they're AI or if they're real pictures of an off-roady version, but certainly Jeep does have the off-road cred to lift it and to put on more off-roady tires. By the way, these are, what do we got? What are we rolling on? These are Falcon low resistance tires, and I think we're riding on either 20s or 21s. And of course, I can't see the size. You see the size, Ian?
No.
It's hidden. Where did they hide it? Let's look on this one. I think these are either 20s or 21s. Now I'm kind of stumped. Come on. Oh, here we go. Of course, at the bottom. These are 235, 50, 20. So we're looking at, not overly wide tires, but we're rolling on 20s that are on low rolling resistance rubber. So, guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Is this something that you might consider instead of a Tesla Model Y, especially the new Tesla Model Y? It doesn't have such features as hands-free driving, which of course Tesla has, but it does have kind of an interesting mix of too many screens and yet enough buttons to make it user-friendly without being overwhelmed by the technology. As always, guys, this is Roman saying thanks for watching. And remember, head on over to alltfl.com for more news, views, and real-world Jeep Wagoneer S reviews. I'll see you next time. Ciao.